This is Between the Brackets, a Mediawiki podcast, episode 18, October 2nd, 2018. Welcome to Between the Brackets. I'm Yaron Koren, and my guest for this episode is Sabine Melnicki, who is a freelance Mediawiki consultant based in Vienna, Austria, who does consulting under the brands WebAhoi and WikiAhoi. I know her pretty well because she has been a regular attendee of the European SMWCon events for the last few years, and she also attended the North American EMWCon earlier this year. Now, I've already interviewed at least two Mediawiki consultants on this program, Bernhard Krabina of KDZ and Remco de Boer of ArchieXL, but Sabine is the first more or less independent Mediawiki consultant. And if there's anyone out there considering going into Mediawiki consulting, chances are that your experience with it would be closer to hers and that of others like her. So Sabine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Yaron.
So what were you doing before you started doing consulting?
Well, my background is actually literature and linguistics. And after that, I was teaching adults, doing training, language training for adults. And then I was part of, I founded a company together with my partner then, my business partner, a nice archiving music project. And that was the time when I came into contact with Mediawiki. And I always wanted to be self-employed. And that just developed, it just evolved the idea to work with Mediawiki as a free consultant too. Yeah.
I see. So starting from that project, pretty much you just dove into web consulting. Web was before that. Web was definitely before wikis. But for the project TangoTunes, the archiving music project, we actually used an internal wiki for ourselves. So that's how when I got into contact with it. And during that time, I visited my first conference in Vienna, the one organized by Bernhard Krabina, actually. And I got hooked. I was totally fascinated by what's possible with Mediawiki and what interesting use cases got presented there. So I thought, well, that is actually something I'd really keep on working with. Oh, wow, very good. I guess I was there at the inception then. That's great to hear that the SMWCon had that kind of effect. What year was that?
2014, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when did you start doing web consulting?
A year after that. So I'm self-employed for three and a bit years now. Yes.
Oh, okay. So Mediawiki came first, and then more general consulting came later.
That sounds complicated. I don't really know what was first.
I guess right.
Yeah. When I started, I started.
It can be
parallel.
A gray area in the beginning. Right,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I started parallel with wiki consulting and web consulting, and that's still what I'm doing. I'm doing it parallel. I do both.
Right.
Yeah, and the conference was really an important starting point for me because I got to know, I got an insight a little bit into the community, and I experienced it as a very interesting, very open, very familiar, very good community, and that was a big part of for me to stick with that software.
Oh, that's great to hear. You now have a few different consulting brands, which I mentioned at the beginning. What's the full structure of that, if I can ask?
What do you mean by structure exactly?
I mean, you have WebAhoi and WikiAhoi. Is it those two? Is it just those two, or are there others?
At the moment, it's just those two, and like the third one with me as a person, just Sabine Melnicki, I guess, as a personal consultant.
Okay.
It was just basically the idea to separate it for web presences online, to have websites for one course and the other, because my customers are really different. If you need a wiki, then you don't need a website, and the other way around. It's not. It's usually it's not. I don't have the same customers. It's not overlapping. So it was just for marketing reasons, but it's the same construction. It's Ahoi. Yep.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it all sounds pretty well structured as an opportunity for bringing in more people to the organization. Is that a possibility?
Yes, definitely. I'd in the future I'd like to be working more closely with developers and graphic designers and texters. I mean, that's what I'm doing at the moment already. For certain projects, I work with partners and sub-service partners, I'd say. As I said, designers, graphic designers, developers, texters, knowledge managers, all this. Yes.
Right.
I'm not so, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure, I understand. So that potentially some of them could become more official members of the organization.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just thinking what it would need, what it would take. I mean, if I let's say if it really depends on the type of projects you're working on. If you have, if you keep on working on bigger projects of the same kind, then it makes sense to have fixed employees. At the moment, I do a lot of different projects, and more than half of it is just consulting, where I need just myself as a person. So most of the projects I don't actually need partners to work with, and that wouldn't make sense to have fixed employees for this.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, yeah, actually bringing. I didn't even want to refer to it as employees, because I'm aware bringing in employees is another few levels of seriousness. I mean, that's a big responsibility at that point in the consulting world. Yeah, my company WikiWorks doesn't have employees. We've talked about it, but that's a big jump.
Yeah.
So as far as Mediawiki consulting, is there a typical project for you? And if so, what is it? Or has each one been different?
Yes, of course, each project is different from its content and demands, but I think I have like 3 different approaches usually. Like, customers come with 3 different questions to me. First is a very technical question. They have a technical problem. They come and say, I'm something in my template isn't working, my form didn't work out, I'm using a new extension, and that is blanking my wiki, stuff like that. So that's basically just technical help. And to me, that shows a lot that, on the one hand, people are actually doing it by themselves. So a lot of people that are just basically users or administrators and not developers are using the software by themselves, but still it's too difficult that they can all do it for themselves, and they crash into problems. The second customer really would be like a small company that has some sort of problem. We're not finding our documents. We would like to use a platform where we can communicate better. We would like to do this and that. And we've stumbled upon the idea of a wiki. Is that something that could make sense for us? Should we use a wiki? What do you think? So that's basically consulting in the beginning. What can a wiki do? What can it be used for? Is it good for a use case, etc.? And then starting and launching and trying it out. And the third customer is are those that are running a wiki. Those are like usually more bigger companies already with more employees, and they run a wiki system. And they think, okay, we would like to excel a little bit more. We would like to work on it better. We would like to work on the content, or it's not working in the way we would like it to, and we are looking for external consulting. Yeah. So these are like the three customers most of the time.
Yeah. Are they mostly in Austria? Your customers?
Yes. For now, definitely yes. Oh
Yeah,
well,
okay.
actually, I have some customers in Germany. Austria and Germany.
Yeah. What are the typical Mediawiki extensions that you use, if any, for these kinds of projects?
Well, to me, semantic MediaWiki is a must for functionality. I don't actually work. I have never worked with any wiki without semantic MediaWiki. I also use page forms for usability reasons for the forms where people can fill in the structure for semantic MediaWiki. But those two are definitely a must for any project. I haven't used Visual Editor yet, actually, in a project.
Okay.
I'm still yet to try that out, and there are a couple of more small ones. I don't know if you're interested in that list, but yeah.
I can guess that some of them, like parser functions and
Yes, or like the MsUpload, for example. It's a really small extension that
okay,
helps
that's
with the
interesting.
drag
Yeah,
and drop upload field, which I really like. If you're using the wiki editor or the free text field in the forms, yeah. So
right. Yeah, that one hasn't come up yet in this podcast, as far as I remember. But yeah, it's a good one.
it's a nice one.
I guess I'm obligated to quibble with calling Semantic MediaWiki a must, even though it's very useful, just because the cargo extension already also exists. But that's a whole separate issue. I just wanted to throw that in there, just to
Well,
have
it's
that
it's
on the record.
a valuable alternative, and as far as I know, they should still be working very well together. You can use it parallel in a wiki.
It's also true. Yeah. This actually relates to your description of the different kinds of projects and customers you have. There can be two different challenges in terms of getting people to use the software. One is to convince people to use MediaWiki, and the other is to convince people to specifically use those structured data extensions like Semantic MediaWiki and page forms. Which of those do you tend to have to do more of as far as convincing people, if either?
Well, if I understood it right, those are two different user groups. But correct me if I understood it wrongly.
Yeah,
But
I think that's often.
that is,
yeah.
you have to convince the administrators to install certain extensions and use them, and the gardeners and stuff like that. And the users, you have to convince to actually put content in the wiki, and that's the big challenge.
Okay.
So
That's interesting. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about convincing users, although that is a major part of it. Are you involved in that part of it in terms of once it's already in place, getting buy-in from the users?
Okay, yes. Again, it depends on the project. Like when I said, that like the technical, or should we use a wiki, etc. That's a level where you don't talk about these things. But if you want to raise participation in the wiki and people putting content in, then this is a question. And I don't know. I follow this approach that you don't want to use a wiki just for using a wiki, or because we have it now we use it. If a user doesn't see the benefit of it, the good side, the use case, why he needs it, he won't ever find it useful. So
Right.
you have to go a step back and decide, find out why you actually use that wiki for, what makes it better than any other system, how it what is interwoven with the processes. And if you find that out, then you will have an easier way to actually convince the users.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. But as a consultant, are you involved in directly or indirectly in terms of giving advice as to how to increase usage?
Yes.
or just
Yes.
selling quote unquote internally within the organization?
Yes. As a consultant, you sometimes take in a position of the uncomfortable position, I'd say. So you say things that others within the company can't say or can't form into words in a way, and that sometimes can mean be strict about things and make decisions and get rid of another system or something, or give recommendations as a consultant, give recommendations that some people won't like in the company but are necessary to bring the project forward. Of course, I'd like to do that in a friendly and positive way. But sometimes you just have to let go of something that you put a lot of effort in and embrace the new to take a step forward.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's getting into the kind of thing that in the US is known as management consulting, where you come in and give business strategy advice. I can't remember if I or WikiWorks have ever been asked to do that, but that's great. That's really interesting.
I mean, in our last project, we sat down together with the project team and thought about ways to raise the participation number, and so we ended up doing workshops. You have peer sessions, you have question and answer sessions, you have you talk to the people directly or within the wiki. You have possibilities to show authors, have an author of the month or a page of the month or stuff like that. So there's a lot of reward systems, and you talk with the project group what would make sense within that special company.
Yeah. So as far as now back to selling the software to the organization, which I guess is what we were talking about. I think a lot of people who are in the enterprise MediaWiki world think that the software, Semantic MediaWiki, Cargo, and all the rest, would be getting a lot more usage if more people understood everything it can do. On the other hand, there are some clunky parts to the software. Where do you stand on that? Do you think getting more usage in general is more of a technical issue or more of a sales/marketing issue?
The second, I think. To me, that's a very important topic, actually, to get more users using MediaWiki. I have a very strong feeling about usability and skinning and looks and the way MediaWiki is actually. When you hit the download button and install MediaWiki, out of the box, it looks like Wikipedia from the 80s, although Wikipedia wasn't even there in the 80s. But it's got a very old-fashioned look, and that really works for Wikipedia and other projects. And it's got a lot of good sides to it too, like the recognition. How do you call that? Recognition. So you can actually, but. It's not pretty, it's not appealing, and it's very technically orientated. And as long as it stays like this, it's putting off a lot of people that are not so technically orientated. And the thing for me is that we are working with Wikitext. Wikitext is a markup language that also non-deaf, non-developers can learn. And it's a very nice first step into programming languages, and you can do an awful lot of things with Semantic MediaWiki and the Wikitext, the markup language, to create your own personal little database, and with all these magic functions, magical functions. Sure. So it's actually not as technical as it seems, or as it's marketed sometimes. So that's where I see that also that a lot of users could make use of and could benefit from this software without all the technical background or all the technical knowledge. I'd really like to lower the level of necessary proficiency for MediaWiki, of necessary knowledge to be able to use MediaWiki. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, actually, Visual Editor could potentially be useful for that kind of thing, depending on how exactly your system is set up.
Mm-hmm. If you're working with only text and not a lot of data structures and semantic templates and forms, then yes. But,
right. Although now actually Visual Editor can be used within page forms. That's a very new and only somewhat publicized feature. So that could potentially be useful for the kinds of things you're talking about.
Yes, that sounds super. I haven't tested it yet, heard of it, but that sounds really necessary and it's a wonderful improvement, definitely.
Cool. So yeah, we've covered the technical or semi-technical issues, but I wonder, as far as marketing, how do you generally pitch the software to people? I mean, what works as far as getting people interested in it?
To be honest, I hardly ever really pitch the software. That's not an approach I take. I always go in and say, I'm not going to sell you the software. That's not my job. It's open source software. I don't own it. I don't want to sell it to you. I want to see what sort of use case you have, what problems you want to solve, and we can see if MediaWiki can help with that. Funny thing is that most of the times it actually can help with the problem. And it appeared early on in this podcast also the idea of fast and rapid prototyping. So if you go in and say,
right,
maybe you even want to test another system, maybe you want to, I don't know, create a database, or you need another knowledge management system, you can still set up the entire structure for yourself, test it out with MediaWiki, and then put it in another system later on, which not so many people do then in the end, but even that would work. Just to say, for me, MediaWiki is really strong in the combination of free text editing and database functionalities. So if you use the MediaWiki, the normal MediaWiki with semantic MediaWiki, you get that combination, and that is unique. I haven't seen that anywhere else in that. Yes, in that right. combination. That is really the main selling point to me. That you can have a Google Docs or a Word document together with a FileMaker or any other database together. It's all in one, and it's very flexible in that combination.
Yeah, that's a good answer, and the rapid prototyping thing is also an important aspect.
Definitely.
So you also do consulting with non-MediaWiki software, and from what I understand, that also includes some other wiki applications. What other applications have you used and helped to implement?
There were not so many. We had one project where the customer was working heavily with Microsoft products and OneNote, for example. OneNote is something that you, I guess, either love or hate, since it's very unstructured, but that's also, I guess, the benefit of it. So trying to get some structure into OneNote was one challenge.
Okay.
And as far as other wiki systems go, we were only just working with Foswiki. But that in that project, it didn't make much difference because we weren't consulting on a technical basis, but more on processes and marketing and internal training and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Foswiki for is it Fos or Foswiki?
Fos, FOS.
Fos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's an interesting application for people who haven't heard of it. I know it started off as a fork of Twiki maybe 10 years ago, and then it basically what happened is all the developers of Twiki left when the main guy tried to take control over the project, and so they created Foswiki, and now at this point it's the only one that's still being maintained, and it stands for free and open source, I think. Anyway, a little bit of context. What is Foswiki like? I've never used it. Does it have any strengths relative to Mediawiki?
Let me think about that. As far as I could see, the developers within that company did a great job in using all the functionalities it has. It has had a lot of let me think. The same. I could see a similar problem to Mediawiki and Foswiki, the navigation. We were working a lot on menus and navigational systems and how I find my way through, how do I find what I'm looking for if I'm not using the search bar. That is similar to Mediawiki. When people start out using a wiki, it feels very different to other systems like a software. So you have to serve the searcher and the browser actually. And if you're browsing, then you need to really think very, very well to show where you are. Create a good information architecture. And that was a challenge that I see with Mediawiki, and that was the same thing in Foswiki.
Yeah. So that actually leads into my next question is, what do you think are the key weaknesses of Mediawiki at the moment, if any? I mean, any big missing features that would be good to have? And I guess the lack of good support for hierarchical navigation is one of them.
Well, I have the feeling that I think some of the skins do a great job in helping with the navigation, and we also try to do a different approach and work in the search bar and really see a wiki not as a certain fixed set of pages that you can click yourself through, but it's really a very growing, expanding knowledge base where you're better off in using the search bar and then clicking your way through the good content, and actually writing the content in a way and structuring the content in a way like really creating a wiki page itself with the content on there that makes it easy for me to know where I'm at and where I should go to. Yes, but so navigation isn't really one thing that I'm missing, and in this moment I can't think of any. I just think the way Mediawiki or semantic Mediawiki sometimes is presented and marketed is very technically orientated, and this is something I'd like to see changed, or at least have another part, like something added, marketing activities that are not so concentrated on the technical part. I think the stakeholders group is working a lot towards that direction. Also the enterprise Mediawiki, enterprisemediawiki.org or something is like the website that NASA started. So there are good tendencies and a lot of people thinking similar and put in a lot of effort in that direction. And
so you're talking about things like improving. Well, I guess the ideal thing would be getting more marketing type stuff on MediaWiki.org itself, or potentially, and then have having YouTube videos and things like that. Or would that be part of it?
Yes, that I'd really like to see that. The problem at the moment is that there is no real community behind MediaWiki. You have a very strong and huge community behind Wikimedia and Wikipedia projects, and you have the enterprise users behind the semantic MediaWiki. But there's no real MediaWiki itself doesn't have a community behind it. It's just spread out, and I have the feeling that it's hard to I don't know, maybe it's just like a political thing in a way. Who is responsible for selling the software? Who is responsible for marketing the software? For like there's this new discussion about changing the homepage of MediaWiki.org, and that just shows that the discussion isn't new, but it's coming up again, and it's a difficult discussion because Wikipedia has so different interests to enterprise users, and that to bring that together is a difficult task that's ongoing.
Sure. Yeah.
It's interesting to watch.
Right. Yeah. My own view on the matter is it's better to think about it as two separate communities. I mean, it's a separate set of software. I mean, things like page forms, for instance, will never get used on Wikipedia and those kinds of projects. And that's fine. And you know, that each one has its own set of developers and so forth. So yeah, I mean, I think maybe part of the roadblock so far has been that people outside of Wikimedia Foundation haven't come to accept the fact that we're on our own as far as doing marketing and so forth, and that we should embrace that role instead of waiting for someone from the Wikimedia Foundation to do it or to confer with us about it. I don't know what do you think of that?
Well, I'd be really interested in. Yeah, I'd be really interested in your opinion on that. I don't know enough about other software projects, how they manage to do it. Other open source projects. I always have the feeling it's only a handful of people that start it and have the vision and start something and drag all the people along. Like the stakeholders group is trying, and I guess some German speaking the German speaking delegation is trying in some way too. Yeah.
Okay.
How do other What do you think? How do other open source projects manage to do their marketing, to agree upon things?
Well, yeah. Obviously, MediaWiki is different from most projects in that we have an interesting case where the people who do most of the development of it, on core MediaWiki, don't actually care whether anybody uses it or not. I mean, some do, but it's not their main focus. The main focus is getting the user experience as good as possible on sites like Wikipedia. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just it's a different challenge. It's a different set of challenges than WordPress or Drupal or whoever have.
Yeah.
Anyway. Mm-hmm. So back to your own consulting. I know you've done at least some projects with others, including I guess at least one with Bernhard Krabina, whom I interviewed before. What have been some of those projects, and how did you get involved with that?
One of the projects is the Datencockpit that we started last year for this new European data protection, general data protection regulation.
Right, the GDPR. Yeah.
GDPR, exactly. So the Datencockpit is using a semantic Mediawiki, and it's a structure on top for the record. The record of processing activities. So that project was funded by an Austrian institution, and I got into the project being a partner for private institutions, since Bernhard and the KDZ are offering services only for public institutions.
Yeah.
So
Bernhard and who?
Bernhard and the KDZ.
KDZ. Yeah, right.
KDZ, yeah, his organization.
Yeah.
And yes, and depending on our resources, we would like to bring that project forward and to the next level this year and the coming year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also did an internal consulting project in a bigger company together.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So I guess even though GDPR is already the law, there's still people who aren't fully complying with it or aren't complying as well as they want to be.
No, not yet. I heard that I read an article the other day. Like in Germany, it's about 50% of the companies are ready for the GDPR. Or done with it. And in Austria, it's going to be about the same, and especially smaller companies who don't fear any sanctions yet. Take that time. And so I still think there's a lot of room for that. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, I hope you have a lot of success with that. It certainly seems
you.
like, as far as solutions go, it seems like a very cost-effective one.
If you don't compare it to an Excel sheet that you already have the license for, then yes. Yes, but
maybe not the most cost effective, but
yes, but you buy an entire wiki. You don't only have the record of processing activities. You have an entire wiki that you can use for anything else. So it is definitely a very cost effective solution. Yeah.
Yeah. There's an upcoming Semantic Mediawiki conference or SMWCon event that will be happening in Germany in a few months in December. I'm not sure if I'll be going, but I hope to have something about it on the podcast in any case. Do you know if you're going to that one yet? Yes, I guess I will, since it's not too far from Vienna. It's about a train ride of 3 hours. So I will take the chance and go and see all the guys in Germany, in Regensburg. And especially since we are, I like the approach that Alexander Gesin is taking, who's part of the organization team. He wants to bring in enterprises and companies from his customers as well. So, and I'd especially like to see and like to experience the conference, since we are organizing the next one in 2019 in Switzerland together with Lex Sulzer. So in that aspect, yes. Yeah. Oh, right. Yes. I didn't mention it's in Regensburg, Germany, and anybody who's interested should go to semanticmediawiki.org and look for it. I wanted to ask about that too. So you will be helping to organize the one in fall 2019. I don't know if it's been officially announced yet, but you just semi-announced it by saying it was going to happen in Switzerland. Can you say anything else about the event, or is it too early?
Of course, we're still planning, and the interesting thing with the Semantic Mediawiki conferences is that each conference is different, since all the organizers take a different approach and would like to bring in something new and some new ideas and a certain structure, and people try out different, conference days, tutorial days, training days. I remember that it was my first couple of conferences, really enjoying all these talks and the talks in between the talks are like in the pauses, and it happened really quickly that I was part of the organization team of Frankfurt. I helped with the program there. Oh, okay. So
that was the very next year.
Exactly. Yeah. If you want to, and the thing is, I'm not a developer, and I can't put back code into the software. And I find with open source communities, it's very important that you try to give something back if you're using the software. And since I can't provide code, I'd like to do it in other ways. I do translations. Try to help with documentation wherever I can, and of course try to organize the setup for these conferences. So besides getting a lot of out of it, it's a way of giving something back too.
Yeah, that's great. One interesting aspect of the Switzerland event, and this ties into a few of the things we talked about, is that there was some discussion, maybe it's all in the past now, of naming that one EMWCon instead of SMWCon to match the North American events, which are called EMWCon or Enterprise MediaWiki Conference. I know there are people on both sides of that debate, and I think part of the issue is that both of the words semantic and enterprise have negative connotations to some people. And also, of course, there's the issue of whether semantic MediaWiki should be the focus or should be a more general thing about anyone who's using MediaWiki outside of Wikimedia projects. Where do you stand on the issue of SMWCon versus EMWCon?
I personally prefer enterprise over semantic MediaWiki conference for the reason of I like the approach. I like the view from the use cases. What am I using it for? The knowledge management in using the wiki. More than the actual software, because to me that's secondary. And as you say, you could use semantic MediaWiki, you could use Cargo, or you could even use Foswiki for solving the problems, and that's what's more important for me. Just for naming the conference, we just said I see different, that it's just a name, and we decided to follow with that convention that the SMW is the European version in fall, and the EMW is the North American version in spring.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned Foswiki. I mean, would you potentially want to see just an enterprise wiki conference?
Yes, that's what I'm interested in. Of course, I still think the community is so small that it could profit from a little bit more community members, even who are working with other software bits and pieces. And it's not going to be an enterprise conference where we're talking about all the enterprise problems. It's still all going to be about wiki. So, yeah, enterprise wiki.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've been thinking about the whole EMWCon thing. I'm thinking maybe there's some alternative term to enterprise that can still capture the idea that this is about MediaWiki outside of Wikipedia and the rest, that doesn't scare people, because apparently the word enterprise scares some people, especially in Europe, I guess. I don't know. So one thought I had is maybe a better solution is to replace the word conference, just so people get a sense that there's something there that makes it different from a standard MediaWiki conference or event. I mean, if you just called it MediaWiki conference, everyone would assume that, this is for all MediaWiki developers and all users. Of course, everyone's invited, but our fear is just getting overwhelmed by the Wikipedia and related sites. So I thought it's kind of a strange thought, but I thought maybe if we had some weird name instead of conference, like calling it MediaWiki Grid or something like that, it would be enough to let people know that this is not, there's something unusual there. I don't know. What do you think of that idea?
I like it. We talked before about the communities, and I only see the conference or the grid forming around the communities. And if we don't have a proper community around MediaWiki, there is no MediaWiki conference. At the moment, there is no MediaWiki conference. You have Wikimedia conferences and hackathons and stuff like that, and the semantic MediaWiki conference. And as long only MediaWiki wouldn't work for me for now. And also, enterprise is something that is excluding some users in a way. This is an argument some people put in, like public institutions, private people.
Right. Yeah, that was never the intent. So actually what you're saying is potentially a MediaWiki conference that did include Wikimedia Foundation aspects and Wikipedia and so forth would be useful too, just as a way of bringing everyone together.
Maybe it would be something like enterprise and other institutions using a wiki for knowledge management. conference.
Yeah, okay.
For example, and especially Mediawiki. So that's a very long title, but to put that into a small one, that's
Maybe we
what
can
I'd like
find
to
some
see.
clever acronym around all of that.
To me, it's just a name, and the title, a tag, an etiquette that needs to be filled with meaning, and that's more important. What you do in marketing, where you fill that name with meaning, what it stands for, what you're gonna get, what people say about the last one, what they got out of it, what people attended it, what big names you have there. That's more important than the actual title. There was this German band where that's called, I can't actually remember the name now, but I can't remember it. But it's got a really long name, and the people told them in the beginning, you're not going to get famous with that name, because it's too long and too complicated and too stupid. And in the end, it was just a name. It doesn't matter. It gets filled with meaning, and that's what's happening with the conferences as well. So I'm more in favor of blurbs and subtitles and small explanations and marketing talk that helps understanding the name. I mean, Bits and Pretzels in Munich, for example. Okay, you have bits in there. It's got to be something digital, but what is it really? What I'm gonna find? We're having some sort of digital conference, but what it actually is won't be transported by a 4-letter acronym. So we need more.
Right. Wait, Bits and Pretzels it's called?
Yeah, that's a conference, a digital conference, a huge one in Munich. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'll have to check that out. Well, great. I think that's all my questions. It was great talking to you, and thank you very much, Sabine.
Thank you very much, Yaron.
This has been another episode of Between the Brackets. I want to again thank my guest, Sabine Melnicki of WebAhoi and WikiAhoi. And thanks for listening. See you next time.